Today, we're going to dive into a book that's going to make you question, well, pretty much everything you think you know about the 9 to 5. It's called Work, A Deep History by the anthropologist James Suzman, and it kicks off with one huge, baffling question.
Right? I mean, think about it. We have more wealth, more technology, more stuff than any human beings in history could have ever dreamed of. So why do so many of us feel more stressed, more anxious, and more overworked than ever before? It just doesn't add up.
And this isn't just a feeling, this is deadly serious. In Japan, they even have a word for it, karoshi. It means death from overwork. The book tells this heartbreaking story of Miwa Sato, a young journalist who died of heart failure. Why? Because she logged over 159 official hours of overtime in a single month. It's a shocking look at how extreme our work culture has become.
So what on earth is going on? As Suzman says, it's like we're not ready to claim our collective pension. His whole argument, the thing we're going to unpack here, is that this relentless drive to work isn't some fundamental part of who we are as humans. Nope, it's a cultural invention. And you might be surprised to hear, a pretty recent one.
To really get how recent it is, we have to jump in a time machine. And I mean, way back. We're talking 300,000 years ago, back to when our ancestors were hunter-gatherers.
Let this number just sink in for a second. 95%. For the vast majority of the time humans have been on this planet, our economic life had absolutely nothing to do with climbing a career ladder or saving for retirement. For almost our entire existence, we were foragers.
And the way they lived was just completely different. The book looks at groups like the hoansi people of the Kalahari, and they didn't see the world as a place of scarcity, where there's never enough. To them, their environment was generous, it was provident. So while our lives are built on infinite wants and constant work, theirs was the exact opposite. Few wants and a ton of free time.
Okay, get ready for this. The average Juhan forager spent about 15 hours a week getting food. 15. That's it. So what do they do with the rest of their time? They relaxed, they socialized, they played, they told stories. They just lived. They weren't obsessed with piling up extra stuff.
This is where the anthropologist Marshall Salins came up with this brilliant idea. He called these hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. Why? Not because they had a lot of things, but because they wanted so little. Their affluence wasn't stuff, it was freedom, it was time. So if that was our natural state for hundreds of thousands of years, what happened? What changed? According to Suzman, everything flipped at one critical moment, the agricultural revolution.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Look at that massive block of time where we were foragers. Then, in that tiny little sliver at the very end of our history, everything happens at once. Bang, agriculture. Bang, cities. Bang, the Industrial Revolution. Our whole modern idea of work was forged in this very compressed, very recent period.
And this switch from foraging to farming completely rewired our brains. See, a forager gets an immediate reward. You find some berries, you eat them. But a farmer plants a seed and then has to work and wait and worry for months, hoping for a harvest. For the first time, work became tied to this deep, future-oriented anxiety.
And here is the real kicker. Farming didn't make life easier. It actually made it harder. It trapped us in this brand new cycle of endless work and worry. You had to tend the land, deal with droughts, pests, famines, and even though farming created surpluses, populations just exploded and ate up all the extra. Scarcity, which used to be a rare event for foragers, suddenly became the central organizing principle of all of society.
The next big jump took us out of the fields and into the factories. This is where cities in the Industrial Revolution took that farmer's mindset, work now, worry about the future, fear scarcity, and just put it on steroids.
And this is where our whole concept of time itself gets warped. You've heard this phrase a million times. Time is money. That idea, captured perfectly by Benjamin Franklin, wasn't some eternal truth. It was born in the factory. All of a sudden, time wasn't just this thing that passes. It was a resource, a commodity to be measured, saved, and squeezed for every last drop of profit. This obsession with efficiency reached its peak with something called Taylorism. This guy, Frederick Winslow Taylor, basically came up with a science for turning workers into human machines. He'd break every task down into the tiniest possible movements, time them with the stopwatch, and then enforce the one best way to do it. It was great for output, but it stripped work of all its meaning and autonomy.
Now, all of this new urban, industrial life, it created a huge amount of psychological stress. The sociologist Emil Durkheim actually gave it a name, anomie. It's that feeling of being adrift,
of social chaos, where the old values that used to guide you are gone, and you just feel purposeless.
And Durkheim said this was caused by the malady of infinite aspiration. Think about it. In a small village, you have a pretty good sense of what enough is. But in a modern city, you're surrounded by endless wealth, endless advertisements, endless things you could have. Your desires become unmoored. They become infinite. And that just fuels the constant need to work more to get more.
So, that's the whirlwind tour of the deep history that brought us here. But the story's not over. We're now at another massive turning point with automation and AI. So the big question now is, where do we go from here? What could a post-work future even look like?
You know, it's funny. Back in 1930, the brilliant economist John Maynard Keynes made this absolutely stunning prediction. He was convinced that by our time, around 2030, technology would have solved our economic problems. He thought we'd all be working a leisurely 15-hour week.
I mean, a 15-hour work week sounds pretty amazing, right? But a quick glance at our own calendars tells us that, yeah, that didn't happen. Not even close. So the really important question is, what went wrong?
Well, the book lays it out pretty clearly. That malady of infinite aspiration just completely took over. We got incredibly good at inventing new things to want. And whenever we were faced with a choice between more free time or more money to buy more stuff, we consistently chose the stuff. There's this wild story about workers at the Kellogg's company who actually had a 30-hour work week for a while, and they voted to get rid of it and go back to 40 hours just so they could earn more money for consumer goods.
And now here we are, facing what Keynes called a new disease, technological unemployment. AI and automation are getting so good that they're starting to eliminate jobs faster than we can invent new ones. It's a problem our entire culture, which is built on the idea of work, is just not ready for.
And this is where the book brings everything full circle in such a powerful way. It suggests that the key to navigating our future might not be found in producing even more, but in looking back, way back, and rediscovering the wisdom of our forager ancestors, learning how to desire less.
This leaves us with a huge, and I mean huge, question for all of us to think about. For centuries, our answer to who are you has been tied to our job. It's given us identity and purpose. So if our jobs are no longer the center of our lives, what will be? Thanks for listening to Daily Review. If you enjoyed it, the best way to support us is to subscribe and leave a rating. Ready to read the book? Using the purchase link in our description directly supports the show and the author. We'll see you tomorrow.